New this morning, the U.S. military says a blockade of Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz is in full effect. On Tuesday, U.S. forces say 8 oil tankers followed orders to reverse course and went back to port. It comes as President Trump says the war in Iran is close to being over and hopes that U.S. and Iranian negotiators could meet again this week. Joining me now, I have retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Shawn and Jamal Abdi, president of the National Iranian American Council. Gentlemen, good morning to you, and thank you for your time, as always. General, let me start with you. You've now got more than 10,000 U.S. troops involved in this blockade, which is now hitting day 3. This Chinese ship reportedly tested that blockade, passing through the strait on Tuesday before doing a U-turn. How much of an effect is this blockade having in curtailing Iran's control of the strait, you think?
It's having great effect. As you talked about earlier, it's actually 2 blockades. One, the Iranians have, and then we actually have through CENTCOM. And as of right now, it's holding. I would say the United States position is, through the blockade, we want to actually bring everybody back to the negotiating table and get to a peaceful solution on this situation.
Jamal, the strait has been Iran's biggest weapon. Their pressure and control over it has changed markets. We've watched it change oil prices, gas prices here at home, food prices. I mean, you name it. Can we choke off Iran's economy by engaging in this blockade?
We can certainly pressure Iran's economy significantly, but I don't think this is a silver bullet if that's the idea, because Iran is also attempting to choke off the global economy. And we're sort of in this game of chicken unless the negotiations actually produce results where, yes, Iran's going to suffer, but Iran's also going to be able to do trade, over land trade routes and things like that. So it will accommodate to some extent, but it is going to hit Iran. And so it's a question of, does Iran blink or does the U.S. blink because the global economy is still impacted by Iran's own blockade?
Yeah. General, who do you think blinks first?
I would tell you, I think he's exactly right. We're going to see here, the president has already said he thinks that we're going to come back to the table in the next 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't see that. I will say that the economy here in the United States is definitely feeling the prices. So we'll see here in the next week or so. But hopefully we can at least keep the ceasefire where it's at right now. And but you're exactly right. I'm not 100% sure who's going to blink first.
Jamal, just let's elaborate a bit more on these potential talks that could resume any day now. The president says maybe something, within the next, 48 hours could materialize here in terms of negotiations. Just given the red lines on both sides of this war, how would you characterize this potential second round? Does it have potential, or is it a waste of time?
I think it has potential. So from the last talks, Vance gave somewhat of a gloomy take on how they ended, but there were some important details in there. It seems that the United States has put forward a proposal that addresses the crux of the issue with these talks, which is the question of Iranian enrichment. The Iranians want some token enrichment program. The U.S. previously allowed that under the Obama deal. Trump had stood up against having enrichment. It seems like there's a compromise that has been offered by the United States for some suspension of the enrichment program. I think that's really promising because that could break that impasse. I think the real issues that would remain, if that actually does reach some conclusion on the nuclear issue, it is the question of Hormuz and what happens there. It is the question of sanctions relief, and then the big elephant in the room, I think, is Israel. Israel is still is talking to Lebanon, but also bombarding Lebanon. I think for the Iranians, they want to make sure that a deal ensures that a war doesn't restart, and if Israel is still at war with Hezbollah and they are exchanging fire, that puts a real question mark on the talks themselves actually concluding the war.
And Jamal, let me ask you a quick follow-up on that. When it comes to the Israel and Lebanon talks, how do you think those end?
Those are really difficult because the party that really has to make concessions is not in the room. Right. We're talking about Hezbollah and Iran's support for Hezbollah. So a negotiation between the Lebanese government that is opposed to Hezbollah, they have limited ability to actually control what Hezbollah is doing. So without that party in those negotiations, it's hard to see how these really reach a conclusion other than sort of Israel trying to force the Lebanese government to disarm Hezbollah, but not having the resources to actually do so.
Yeah, and remarkable that those talks between Israel and Lebanon are even happening in D.C. as well. So we'll follow that closely. General, let me end with you, because Jamal did bring up the enriched uranium, which I wanted to touch on as well. This regime has never shown any willingness to budge on its nuclear capabilities, its stockpile of enriched uranium. If that's the case after round 2 of talks, what options do we have on the table, including militarily?
Well, we still have the military option on the table, and I do not believe Iran's going to back off of their ambitions. I believe what's going to end up happening is we're going to get back to a solution, but that solution is going to look very similar to what the Obama administration had back in the past. So I don't see where Iran's going to back off their ambitions here anytime soon.
Boots on the ground?
I don't want to say boots on the ground, but I will say we will get back to dropping bombs again real soon. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. We'll see what the next few days, including the weekend, have in store. Jamal Abdi, Brigadier General Shawn Harris, as always, gentlemen, a pleasure to have you on the show. Appreciate it, guys. Well, heart-pounding video.